So first of all, welcome. This is an informational session to share with you our experiences about what it's like to move out of a blue state, and also an opportunity for you to answer or ask questions of us. And then we're going to go into detail about the process, the emotional process. It's a big one for each and every single one of you as you work your way through the challenges of living in a blue state, or a deep blue state for that matter. So what you didn't get to hear a few moments ago was that we are going to continue to do these informational sessions about moving out of California. This is actually our very first one of an informational session about moving out of a blue state. In the last, say, month or two, we've done a number about moving into Texas or moving into a red state. And we felt, because of all the good feedback, that why don't we put together this, just, my wife and I, Brenda and I, having an honest discussion, answering questions about what it's like, the real process, right, to move out of, whether it's California or another blue state, and also to share with you what our clients feel and lessons learned. So no matter where you are in the process, whether you are right now just thinking of moving, or you're in the process of packing your bags and getting out tomorrow, or maybe you're 2 or 3 years down the road. You've got to wait for your retirement, right? Or maybe you've got a kid in high school, although they're probably not in school right now in a blue state, right? But it's still their senior year. So you're beginning this planning phase, and we hope that at the end of this presentation, what we provide you will at least give you a sense of honesty, that what we have told you is the good, the bad, and the ugly. The last thing we want is for you to move and then to be my next door neighbor and to Brenda and I to knock on our door and say, hey,
you didn't tell us.
You didn't, you didn't tell us about this. And that's really why we want to have this very honest and frank discussion with you. We also keep this confidential. So many of you that have registered, some of you you don't want anybody else to know, right? You don't want your current employer to know because you don't want to lose your job before you make that choice. Others of you are ecstatic. You'd put a sign on your front yard if you could, but then you'd worry about Antifa coming and blowing up your house, right? So you got to be careful. You got to plan this strategically, especially for those of you that are in areas where it is getting very dangerous. Not only do we run Conservative Move, which is where you registered, we also run another company called Law Enforcement Move. And it's the same process, the same principles, but we're helping law enforcement officers move out of Seattle, out of Portland, out of Chicago, out of New York, into other police-friendly communities. To tell you a little bit about what we've experienced in this, especially in the last month or two, is that the 3 years now that we've been in business, doing this a Conservative Move, we have never been so busy. We have never had so many people email, so many people phone calls, so many people plan visits, whether it's here to Texas or we work in 40 different states, hundreds of agents that are part of our network, and everybody's just really busy. We are a family-run business. We are the owners of this. We created this company about 3 years ago. So we're going to tell you our story, and then we're going to ask you to please chat in questions.
And let's tell them too where they can chat. So you can chat on the left-hand column. The questions go directly to us. Or at the top of your screen, there is a red question mark, and you can click that and ask the questions there as well. We will keep your names confidential. We will not say who is asking the questions. Just simply just state the questions, and we will answer the questions as we go.
Yep, and it's awesome. You're already starting to post questions. What we'll do is we'll go through our just an informal talk here first, and then we'll get to all your questions. What we typically say is that, at least for our other webinars that we focus on a state like Texas, or we just finished one for North Carolina, it lasts no more than an hour. That's how long we've allotted for it. We know that you have other roles and responsibilities. But remember, at the end of this conversation, it's not the end of our relationship with you. It's the beginning. So we hope that if we don't get a chance to answer your questions, that you will continue to work with us and email us or help us network you with an agent in an area that you want to move to, and to help identify a conservative move agent where you currently live to help you sell your house, get it correctly appraised, get the biggest bang for the buck, and get you on the road. Okay, so our story. My wife and I, Brenda, we were born and raised in Southern California. Brenda, you want to tell your story about where you grew up?
Sure. Born and raised in Southern California, never lived in any other state up until we moved to Texas. Lived in Rancho Cucamonga, went to public schools there. Growing up, I'm in my 40s, so growing up, it wasn't a bad place to live in California. In fact, it was a red state then. So not bad, good place to live.
Sisters, brothers?
He's putting me on the spot now. Two younger sisters. I don't think that they care about that, but that's okay. Played sports in high school. Anybody that went to Etiwanda High School, that's where I was. Shout out anybody. You could put stuff in the comment section. And Paul and I actually, I'm skipping ahead, but Paul and I actually went to the same university, Cal State San Bernardino. He's like 9 months older than me, and had a few of the same friends, but never met while we both attended the university there. And then tell them where you were born and raised and how we got here.
Yep, I was born and raised in Riverside, California. Then I lived up in the high desert Hesperia, and then down the hill, as they called it, into San Bernardino, where I did my undergrad. Lived in Los Angeles, went to grad school at USC, and then I went out to Washington, D.C., worked in the White House for 6 years, lived in D.C., and then Brenda and I got back in touch, got married in 2004. I decided, obviously, to leave my job in D.C. to move where Brenda was residing at the time, to Rancho Cucamonga. Bought a house. We've had 4 kids, and just a great life from a family perspective. Brenda and I are both prior law enforcement. Brenda worked LAPD and then San Bernardino County Probation. I did 21 years with the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department Reserve Deputy, and then as a state parole board commissioner in California, and also worked at USC Department of Public Safety. Currently in the Navy, I almost have 20 years in, currently at the rank of commander in the reserves, and a small business owner here with my wife, Brenda. I remember, obviously, California as a kid. My parents moved there as a first-generation immigrant. They moved there from New York, Pennsylvania, into Southern California. And we got to remember, the state, like many of our states back then, under Reagan era, especially California, it was a red state, tremendous job growth, low crime, good paying jobs. The schools actually were almost, I believe, top 3, top 4 in all of the country. But as you watch Democrats take control of California, the strong unionization, the money that flowed in to support leftist candidates, the state followed that same trend of money, but downward with morals and values. We saw the degradation of public safety across. We saw jobs begin to flee. Crime became very rampant. And if you look at California in just the last 10 years, it went from kind of a purplish state now into a very deep blue state where Democrats control all statewide offices. They've got a supermajority in the Assembly and the state Senate. They control almost all the congressional seats. They hold the 2 U.S. Senate seats. And that has happened in other states as well. When you look at New York and the trampling there, or you look at pocketed areas of cities, you look at what's happening in Chicago. And so when we left California, we left after I lost my race for Congress. I was a Republican nominee, ran for a congressional seat. We ran on the simple reason of wanting to better our country for our kids. And the area that I ran in used to be very Republican, San Bernardino County area. But over time, that changed. And what we realized shortly after that election night is that you can't help people who don't want to help themselves. We poured our heart and soul into that area, from our volunteer efforts, keep kids off drugs, to law enforcement. And if a message like that doesn't resonate and they elect Democrats, which really don't care about family values, small businesses, they put more criminals on the streets, what is there really left, for us? If we were retired and maybe living away from those areas in that state, maybe we could have stayed and put up with it. But as parents with 4 kids, we we look at them, right? As parents or as grandparents, our number one role and responsibility is for the success of our kids. So let me tell you the emotional side of this. Nobody feels good about leaving your home, right?
Where you've been, raised and have all your memories and everything like that.
Yeah. You think about everything. I was in the Navy in San Diego and just, or going to school in LA and, back in the 90s or the early 80s, a lot of great memories, right? And when you leave, you're going to reminisce about those good times. But what I will tell you is this, is while you're still living there right now, you're probably disgusted with what the state's done because you feel ownership that this is your state. And pardon my English, but who in the hell just comes in and destroys a beautiful place like that and continues to degrade it, right? And so there's also anger. You're going to have the emotions of anger. But there is truth to the saying, the grass is greener on the other side. We ended up landing in Texas. There's a lot of great states. Most of you that are moving out of blue states are moving to either Texas, Idaho, Tennessee, the Carolinas, Florida, and then a few others kind of in the Midwest. But from the most part, for all of you, and if you haven't made the move yet, you're going to go through these emotions of sadness, of shock. But here's where it gets good. And that is once you leave, once you are finally out of that place and you're into your new state, and you look back at where you just came from, you're going to feel finally like you get it, but also like you got out of a really bad relationship.
And you didn't even know how bad it was until you were gone.
Yeah, we've all been in bad relationships. Just be honest. We're not a counseling service, but we just want to be honest about this, right? We've all been in bad relationships. And sometimes when you get out of that bad relationship is when you realize, what were we doing?
Well, I should have left a long time ago, is what you realize.
Yeah.
In that relationship. But or it's like California.
Yeah, but we were comfortable, right? You kind of put up with it. And when you're out, you realize just how much you were abused by the state. Look at what you're paying for, just taxes alone, or the ridiculous policies or laws, or the lack of values, if you will. And you were giving up a lot. You were sacrificing, a lot of yourself and your dignity, if you will, to just stay in the trenches and fight. And many of you have had legitimate reasons to stay, for something with your kids, a medical issue. But if there are no longer those anchors, or those anchors are not as deep as we think they are, and then, I can't give you any legal advice, but do you take a leap of faith and know that there is a huge migration of families, of individuals, of retirees that are leaving. I tell people, look, when you get off this chat with us, go online and price how much it costs to rent a U-Haul coming out of California, say to Texas or Idaho or Florida, and then reverse that. Look at how much it costs
to move into
California. It's dirt cheap because nobody's really going. I mean, they got a huge illegal immigration population, which is subsidizing the numbers, if you will, of the population. But California's been losing its middle class forever. You're largely left with two classes of people. That's all because of the liberal politics. You have your coastal liberal elite spread from San Francisco all the way south, right? And they live in gated communities. They're protected. They got tons of money. They got private security. And then you got the rest of us in the state, or these states, which are your working poor. And in many of these states, if you're making less than 100 grand, guess what? You're working poor.
And that's not the case if you move to a conservative state like Texas or Idaho, Tennessee, and many others. Say $100,000. I mean, a lot of people have a lot more freedom in states like Texas to have a house, to go on vacations. I was pleasantly surprised at how many people, friends of mine whose kids go to school with me, they were taking vacations every holiday. So, Thanksgiving break, Christmas break, spring break. And then you realize, wow, we can actually do this here in California. We're so strapped and you can't afford a whole lot because everything costs so much more. But a state like Texas, you have that. You have vacations with your family and things like that, or extracurricular activities that you can be involved in more. And you just have a sense of just people seem happier. And it's really, really, really nice to see.
Yeah. And so the next piece that you'll find is that many of you know people who've already moved, or they're talking about it, or some of you don't know anybody who's moved yet. And you're like, wow, I'm thinking of going, but I just don't know. I will say, though, that when you make the move, right, when you make that move, your friends, your family, they're going to, not all, but they're going to follow. If you don't know anybody who's moved yet, then you're a pioneer. Because once you move off your street, trust me, when they see you out here on Facebook and hearing about the stories, it's on anybody who's a rational person wants out of these deep blue areas. It just doesn't make any sense anymore. So it's on everybody's mind. But there is a fear factor, right, in leaving something that is so comfortable. So take comfort in the fact of knowing that when you do make that move, people are going to follow you. It's huge on how that happens. They're going to call upon you for advice and guidance in that process. So how does this whole thing work, and how did it work for us? Well, it's really fairly easy. Depending where you are in your blue state, the market right now is actually really good across this country. It's because interest rates are down around 2.5%. So the housing market is really hot. What's going to happen after the election, especially if Biden gets in? Nobody knows, right? Nobody knows what the interest rates are going to be a month, 6 months from now. But today,
they're low, very low.
Low, and which is really good. Which means selling, if you rent, then that's one less step you got to worry about. But if you're a homeowner, right, and you're thinking about putting your house on the market, I don't want to give you incorrect advice, but I will say that it's a good time based on trends.
Yeah, and just to let you know, the clients that have sold in California, either with our agents or other agents that they already knew or were friends with, they're selling right away. In our experience, when we're working with those agents, for example, in the San Jose area, they're getting like 10 offers the first day the house goes on the market. It's insane. I mean, even Inland Empire, Riverside area, the same thing. Our agent is telling us multiple offers pretty fast. So it shouldn't be too difficult to sell. And in those red states, our agents are working hard, so they will help you find whatever you're looking for, even if they have to go above and beyond, which they will do. And we're finding that our agents are helping our clients find houses all the time. I mean, people are moving constantly, so you're not alone in your thoughts. And if you do choose to move at this time, you would be so surprised at how many people are actually leaving, especially California.
Yeah, so that out migration continues. We don't see the trend at all slowing down, so it's gonna continue. If you're interested in talking with any of our conservative move agents, what we always recommend is go to our website, fill out the contact form, put as much detail as you can in there, and then we'll align you with an agent in the area that you're looking to move to. Or you might say, hey, we have no idea where we want to go, but we're looking at these 2 or 3 states. That's great. Then we'll put you in touch with the lead agent for that state, so you can at least build a relationship, have a friendship to get advice as that process goes. I'll tell you a little bit about North Texas and at least why we landed here. 2014 was a Money Magazine article that popped up on my computer. This was when I was living in California, and it rated the best cities in all of America to raise a family. And the city popped up called McKinney. Never heard of it, but I did fly out here, or I had a layover in Dallas, Fort Worth, as I was flying from Ontario, California to Washington, D.C. I took that layover, made it a 24-hour layover, rented a car, and just made a beeline for McKinney. And as I'm driving around this area of North Texas, it reminded me of Orange County, California in the 80s before it was built out. Just, beautiful, everybody jogging, playing. I looked at the schools. There was no graffiti, just genuine sense of good decency. Everybody extremely friendly. And when I came back, I talked to Brenda about it, and it was always became our backup plan if things fell apart in California. Well, in 14, I ran for Congress, a Republican nominee, lost but barely, ran again in 16, lost again, although the Republican nominee. And after that loss, as I said at the beginning, we just decided, okay, this is a sign. There's nothing more we can do here. So we packed up the kids, and we flew out of Ontario on Southwest, landed in Dallas Love Field, rented a minivan, stayed at a Residence Inn. We didn't know anybody. We just drove around North Texas.
For a whole week.
A whole week, yeah. Just drove around. We looked at the schools, talked to the people, and we just loved it. And before we knew it, we were putting an offer in a house.
The last day we were here.
Yep, last day.
Of our trip.
And we got it. Yeah, we got it. And here's the crazy thing is, we flew back to California, and certainly inside there was this excitement that we were really doing this.
We were escaping.
Yeah, we were escaping. But when we were in Texas for a week and then came back into California, you could really
notice a difference.
Yeah, we noticed a huge difference. That was always there, but we just noticed so much more trash and graffiti and homelessness.
How much dirtier it was than Texas. Texas was so clean, and you could see the contrast because I had never been to Dallas, Texas area, North Texas, other than a convention for work and never leaving the hotel room. So to see the difference, and you hadn't really been outside of it other than that other trip, to see the difference, we're looking around when we got back, we're like, wow, we really need to get out of this place. This is nothing like North Texas, McKinney that we just came from. And we did everything that we could to make it happen. And we were blessed to be able to get a loan and buy a house out here and take that leap of faith. Like Paul said, like we didn't know. We hadn't started this business. We have another small business, but it wasn't like we were just had endless amounts of money to buy a house. We just prayed about it and we worked hard and so fortunate to make that happen.
Yeah. So here's the process when you're back in California or New York or wherever you may be. Look, I'm going to go through a quick 3-minute rundown that'll save you a ton of money on getting ready and prepped. First off, if you're planning on leaving in 6 months, 3 months, you need to start getting rid of stuff or selling it now.
We did it in 1 month, actually.
It was exhausting. Yeah.
1 month, we put an offer in, got it, did a 30-day, as you guys call in California, escrow, but closing, and got rid of things, donated, sold, gave them to people walking down the street as we were loading up the moving trucks. We have no room for it, and we just didn't know what to do. So some people got some nice stuff. Yeah,
some ways to save money is get all your boxes at either Lowe's or Home Depot. Get very good packing tape. Always do the bottoms nice and good. Don't buy your boxes at U-Haul, way too much money. Also, don't use a U-Haul, and don't pay like another Fortune 500 moving company a ton of money to move it. If you want to save money on how to move, we did it. We'll be happy to talk with you more offline. Our agents can share it with you. We used a moving company that drops a huge trailer, semi, into your driveway. You pack it. You got 3 days to load it, 3 days to unload it on the back end.
Or you have somebody else. You pay somebody else to load it if you can't. Yes.
But it saved us a lot of money. We paid to a 4 or 5 bedroom house across country about $3,500, which was a big savings. And then we shipped our cars, except for the Suburban, which we drove. We drove across country with our 4 kids and our dog.
Yeah, we had somebody ask about that. Yes, not during our initial trip to come out to North Texas. We took the kids with us. So yes, we had all 4 kids. They did amazing that whole week. We let them use their iPads in the car, and they were perfectly happy with that. We left our dog with family members, so we did not take the dog during the trip. When we moved out here, like Paul said, in the Suburban, we did have our dog. We have a German Shepherd. We have a extended Suburban, so he was in the back part. Stayed with us 2 nights. Another night we put him at a pet hotel. I know we get a lot of questions about this actually, because there's so many of our clients that love their animals. So it's either dogs or cats. And it is hard to travel with those pets. And I've heard lots of different ideas on how that happens. Some people have rented RVs or they have their own RV and they've taken that across the country so that they can stay with their pets on the way. Again, we just we looked at ratings, and one night we just had a leap of faith again, and we took our dog Sunny and put him at just a mom and pop's pet hotel, and he loved it. We picked him up the next day in Odessa, Texas, and he was so happy. So that worked out for us. But the rest of the time, Sunny was with us. The 4 kids were with us, and you were getting on you were telling about how we drove the Suburban.
Yeah, so we get here to Texas, and we pull up at our house, and before we know it, all of our neighbors are coming up to our house, and they're all
baked goods.
Yeah, with baked bread, cookies. I mean,
brownies.
All these baked goods, and a typical California couple. We tell our kids don't eat it.
We weren't even sure if we should eat it.
Yeah, you don't know what's in there. But that's how genuine and nice our neighbors were. And also, look, in these red states, because the taxes are so much less, you don't have to work. You usually don't need a husband and a spouse income,
right,
to be able to make life work out here. In California, or I know most of you here are from California, but think about it. Despite COVID, you're on the freeway, stuck in traffic, working all day, up early, late at night. You get home, you drive home, your garage goes up. You pull in your garage, the garage goes down, you go to sleep.
You don't know your neighbors mainly.
Yeah, you really don't know your neighbors because you don't have time to know your neighbors.
Yeah, here everybody's out riding their bikes, walking. We know pretty much our entire community. I mean, we have, I don't know how many houses, 50 houses in our little community, but for the most part, we know almost a good majority of them. By name, they stop. It was so surprising. People would invite me into their house before COVID, but we first moved here, and I was like, do we go in? We have the kids with us, but they wanted us to come into the neighbor's house. And so we would. They would offer us some to drink and some food, and that's just the hospitality. People just are so much nicer here, at least in North Texas, that it's been wonderful.
Yeah, it really has. Also, everybody here is from California. We realized my neighbor across the street's from Yucaipa. The postman is from Long Beach when we first moved here. The guy at Home Depot.
And Anaheim. They love the way Texas is. They're not trying to change Texas. I know we get a lot of questions on, is Texas going to turn blue? We hope not. But everybody that we meet, they're moving here for the same reasons. And for the most part, everybody that's moved here that we have met, either through us or just in general, have been true Texans and just love everything about being free and being a Texan.
Yeah, I'll give you some information on this. People think that, well, all these Californians that are moving to these red states are going to turn them blue. What I can tell you is the research of what we're seeing. I'm big into research, my doctorate degree, and I teach for Cal Baptist University online, and I really love data. But if just for fun, if you're at your computer later tonight, Google the words exit polling, Senator Cruz, and Beto O'Rourke. I can never say the guy's name. Anyway, that was the U.S. Senate race here in Texas. And the exit polling showed some really fascinating data. What it showed is this: by a 60-40 split, more Republicans, or more of those that are moving to Texas, are voting Republican than Democrat by a 60-40 split. The challenge in Texas is like the challenge in every state. And that is your youth voters that are getting indoctrinated by these leftist universities. And, you see it on the streets now, raising their fist to people eating in a restaurant. It's just absurd. That's your challenge, ladies and gentlemen. And so if you move to these red states, we're just going to respectfully ask, hey, come here and tell your story about why you decided to leave. And I'll tell you, coming here, it's like leaving a third world country and moving back to America.
Yeah.
Really, when I go back to California and we do these informational sessions on the road, I'm shocked. I took Derek Baker, who's our lead agent, on a walk, for Texas around San Francisco. What a dump.
He had never been there before.
Never been there. He literally never knew there was really poop and needles on the street. He didn't know there was a poop app to help you, I guess, navigate the city. So, but here's the data. More people are moving out of San Francisco than moving in. And that says a lot about what's happening in these big cities. I'm trying to think here. We've got, just 12 minutes left. We want to do our best to answer some questions.
While you think of that, Paul, I'm kind of just looking at questions as we go and kind of answering them while you're speaking as well. As far as somebody that asked about agents listed on our website, please feel free to email me, call me, Brenda@conservativemove.com. I'd like to place you with obviously a conservative agent, but in getting to know kind of what you're looking for and more about you can help determine which preferred agent. They're all wonderful, but sometimes there's specifics that that some of our agents have. Like someone might want 5 acres. Well, we have certain and it depends on which state or which region. For example, in Texas, we have different agents for different areas, but then we have country. If you want agricultural land, if you want farmland, or you just want extra land, that is more specific. And so we don't list the names of the agents on the websites because we want to customize the whole experience for you and what you're looking for. And some people prefer, if you're I bring this up only, like if you're a single female, you may want a female agent, or if it depends on the relationship and the marriage and the kids and who's the one putting in doing the most research and making the decisions. Usually that's maybe the person that maybe don't care if it's a male or female, but sometimes people do. If the male is making more of the effort in the move, then sometimes he might be able to relate more to a male agent. So I just bring these up. And some people just say, we just want a great agent. Well, we have tons of those, and we can make that happen for those areas. So don't feel like, because they're not listed on the website, that we don't have plenty of great agents for you to choose from.
Yeah, a question about rent. Do we help renters as well as homeowners? Absolutely. In fact, a lot of our clients, you can't afford to buy in California, right? It's so ridiculously expensive. And you come out and maybe you want to move to a red state, but you want to rent first? Absolutely. Many of our clients might rent for 6 months a year and then end up buying. So yeah, again, on our website, fill out that contact form at conservativemove.com and just mention that in there and what state you're interested in so we can put you in touch. Brenda's going to put a survey out here in the chat box for you all where you can actually put a lot more information in there, and that way we can follow up more later with very specific recommendations as well. Let's see, can we talk about some of the top conservative locations to relocate to? Yes, so I'll tell you the states first. The states where most people are moving to in this order are Texas.
North Texas, McKinney specifically.
Yeah, Idaho, Tennessee, the Carolinas, and Florida. And within Texas, there's 4 regions where most people move to. Most are moving to North Texas. The others are going to look at the Hill Country area, which looks like, kind of like the wine country of California. It's huge, like the size of Connecticut, very big. There's 258 counties or 250 something counties in Texas and 58 in California. Obviously size, is smaller to fit all those in. There's a lot of variety. The other area is north of Houston in the Woodlands, which is very popular. From those, all those areas are conservative. But look, if you want to stay in conservative areas, you've got to stay out of the big cities. We would not recommend Dallas, Houston, Austin.
Right, like 30 miles outside of those big cities that Paul recommended. The suburbs, 30 miles and out past that are awesome.
Yeah, and the schools. We didn't talk a lot about schools. The schools out in Texas are remarkable. In California, our kids were in private school because we were so worried about the public schools. Out here, they're in the public schools, and the public schools out here are a 10 out of 10. Amazing. In fact, our kids honestly were a little behind coming here. We had to do a lot of tutoring to get them up to speed. So in Texas, academics is huge, and so is sports and extracurricular activities. Our football stadiums out here for high schools are pretty amazing. And a lot of folks, the Friday Night Lights, it's a real deal in these areas. If you're looking at Texas, I recommend first looking at the North Texas area in Collin County. It's where we are. It includes the cities of Allen, Frisco, McKinney, Prosper, Plano, Salina, and there's a ton of them. In fact, if you go to Conservative Move Facebook page, we just posted an article that shows the top cities in all of America where the housing market is. You'll see McKinney and Frisco and those areas all in that bubble. The other areas are, well, Idaho, for example, again, Boise, Idaho is a Democrat-run city. Still, not a crazy Democrat city, but most people that move to Idaho are going up north to the Coeur d'Alene area. Our statewide lead agent is also, who is in Idaho, is from that area. Coeur d'Alene is, I swear to you, I think all the cops and firefighters got the same memo because they're all retiring there. Mm-hmm. There's a ton of Californians, a lot of Seattle, Portland, a lot of cops coming that way to North Idaho. Coeur d'Alene, extremely popular up that way. In Tennessee, I can't speak to that because our lead agent knows that much better, and same with Florida as well. But I would say that on our website at conservativemove.com for webinars, you'll see a lot more states that we're going to add, or we're going to repeat states. So continue to monitor that. And then what you can do is get in on those webinars and ask questions. Or quite honestly, you don't even have to wait. You can just fill out the form and we'll put you in direct contact with our lead agents for those areas.
Right.
Would you scroll down? Let's see if we're missing some questions.
Well, I'm gonna address this one real quick. Somebody's asking about moving out of state and purchasing as a first-time home buyer. They're asking without employment, but even with employment. We have a great preferred lender here in North Texas, Doug Fouts. Feel free to email me and I can connect you. He would be the best person, or any lender for that matter, to discuss those options and kind of know your history and what that looks like. So we wouldn't be able to answer that question for you, but we could absolutely get you to the right person. And then if you're looking at other states, all of our lead agents have preferred lenders that they like. And so we don't choose them for them. They know what's worked for their clients, and they'd be happy to refer you to whoever they have available to even just have that conversation, so you can know how much you're approved for and what that might look like. There was another question.
Go scroll down that bar. I can see more. Okay. Coeur d'Alene is in Idaho. Spokane, I guess closest to airports. I can't speak to Spokane, but I can tell you Coeur d'Alene, yes, is extremely, I shouldn't say extremely, it is conservative, yes.
It is conservative, and our lead agent, Elsa, is awesome. And given the top 3 states that people move to, you don't have to choose these states, but Texas, Tennessee, Idaho, all 3 of those, we have upcoming webinars. And I know somebody had asked about specific areas within those states. Our lead agents do a great job in putting a map up and kind of going through the different areas, and you can ask questions. You can do that anytime, like Paul said. You can email them, you can call them. I can put you in touch with them. But it's really great, even for us, because we don't live in those other states, to see where the popular areas are and to see them highlighted and see what they have to offer. And it's kind of a cool experience. So we definitely encourage you to register for those webinars, and we promise to check the links to make sure they work before the webinar.
Yeah, so in the last few minutes, just a quick rundown of some items to consider. Consider, jumping on a plane and just making a visit to the state that you want to go to. And literally when you get there, of course, meet with the agent, but get lost as well. We want to encourage you to explore the region like we did, except we didn't know anybody. In this case, when you fly to the red state, you at least got an agent, a friend on the ground to at some point meet with, maybe provide a little bit of a guide for you where to go, where not to go.
And somebody that's conservative who can speak the same language as you, kind of what you're looking for and move further. Yeah, we had another one too. Just a real quick, somebody wanted a quick rundown on moving cheaply. Basically, Paul was saying, get your boxes at Home Depot or Lowe's. Don't get them at a moving company or like U-Haul. We do have a moving company that offers a discounted rate to our clients, and we'd be happy to put you in touch with them as well. So feel free to email me those questions. And our lead agents have that information as well when you get to that point where you're about to move into your new house in the new state.
Yep. And
there was another question.
Yep. But while you're looking up that, for any veterans here, there's the VA loan, which is great. If any veterans with a disability rating, it reduces your property taxes on your home, which can be up to paying 0% if you're at 100% disabled. So we got a lot of veterans that move to these red states, Texas in particular. Great state to start a small business. We also do have a really good consultant on board in case you happen to own a business and you need to move your business, on how that process looks as well. It is very different than moving your family. Moving a business is a completely different process, which we have not done, which is why we now have a phenomenal person on board who helps specifically with addressing the business aspect of making that move. And look, these states are going to love to have you. Your kids are going to thrive here. You're going to thrive here. And just, accept the fact that because you're a human being with a good heart, you're going to have emotions. You're going to remember things. And I'll leave it with you like this, in that you will always have fond memories, mostly, of your childhood and how our human brain is wired. Unless we've had very traumatic experiences, our brains tend to remember the more positive of events. And that will be true once you leave that state and you come to this red state, is that some of the negatives will fall away, and you'll reminisce and remember the good times of where you came from. But you will go back to visit, whether it's a wedding, a funeral, for work. And when you go back after having left, you'll realize just how much better off,
how thankful you are.
Yeah, how thankful you are, and how better off you are for that. And lastly, for the patriots out there, you like to vote and keep America strong. Never feel like you're running away. You have to fight where you have a fighting chance. And for many of us, you're going to these states and you're gonna get involved because it's just what you do. And you can look at it this way. As a conservative, as a Republican, if we lose Texas, right, the Republican will never hold the White House again, right? We need those electoral votes out of the state. So you are going somewhere to continue to fight, and it's where you have a fighting chance. And if that is not reason enough, it always goes back to priority number one, which is for your kids or your grandkids, because you're going to see them thriving. They're going to be a part of this new state, and the quality of life and the opportunities that you're giving them is what makes it all worth it.
And that's why we did it in the end. I mean, really, we looked at our kids and we thought, what kind of life can they have in California, and how much better can it be in Texas? And we have found that it is so much better, not just for us, but definitely for them, and all the activities that they're involved in, and all the great friends that they've made and that we've made here. So,
well, we hope we've answered all or most of your questions. We apologize if we didn't get to all of them. We'll be happy to answer them one-on-one later. Again, please fill out that survey. Put as much information in there as you can. Consider visiting with us. We have people flying out all the time.
Yep. Literally daily, they're flying out, and
or driving out too.
Or we're doing it virtually. But I'd like to also end it with this: is that because you're in California and because it's mainly shut down, I speak to a lot of Californians, and they say like, well, I just can't get out there. But when I explain to them, we have people here all the time. We meet with people in person. We're able to show them houses. We're able to do all the things carefully that we did before. They just didn't realize that. So please know that we're here. If you, like Paul said, you want to take a road trip, we're here to any of the states that we mentioned. And if you can't easily do that, I see that somebody can't easily do that with their pets because they have for dogs, we can help you. We can still assist you. We can do it virtually. Our agents know how to video for you, to FaceTime while they're there. We do that as well too. We have people that have never seen the house or the area and buy their home.
Yep.
And, so that happens too.
And look, there's no fee, there's no cost for this. There's nothing that you incur. We are a capitalist organization. We make money off referral fees from our agents that pay us when they're successful.
But they cannot raise their fees for you.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
They just have to give a percentage of their commission.
Yep, exactly. So that's how we work. Full disclosure. People always say at the end, "Well, how much does it cost us?" It's
free.
Yeah, there's nothing that we make. We do make our money off the agents who work for us because they want to do a good job, and a percentage does come back to our company, and that's how we stay afloat. Quite honestly. Lastly, please, there's a Facebook page, a second one, which I recommend you join. And the reason I recommend it is anybody can join, and you can ask anything you want, not just of us, but people that have already made the move. I think the one for Texas is called like North Texas Transplants from California and other states on Facebook.
I'll put the link in right now.
About half the people that are on that Facebook page have already moved from California to Texas. The other half are coming. And people will post all kind of questions on there. Like, what's it really like? You could think like what Paul and Brenda said, is that accurate? You could post any question you want. We encourage you to. We're a family. We hope we can be of service to you. We hope we can earn your business. If you'd like us to help sell your house in California and help you buy in a red state or just one or the other, we're here for you every step of the way. God bless you all. Stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you in a red state soon. Good night.
Good night, everybody.